to use Adobe Illustrator to create your own miniature fathead. To get started, you can see I have an example on the screen. I just ran through this in the classroom and decided to try the process again and actually record it. So I'm going to start from the very beginning and go to File, New. Here I want to make sure it's set to inches, and we're going to go with a 4 by 8 inch artboard to get started. That'll be the rough size for our miniature fathead sticker. Click Create. From here, I want to bring in an image that I'm going to use. So File, Place, and I have a photo here of a student in my class right now. We're going to place that image, and I took it with my phone, so it's a very large image. I'm going to just minimize this down. I'm holding Shift to maintain proportions, just shrinking it to the artboard, roughly within that 4 by 8 space. And once I'm inside the artboard, I'm going to make a copy of this image. So Control C, Control V. And I'm doing that right now because I want these two images to stay the same size. With my copy, I'm going to use Image Trace and hopefully get a silhouette of the person that you see in the image. So Window, Image Trace. And then with that image selected, I'm going to go to Preset and select Silhouettes. And default, you can see it basically blew out the entire image. It's not what I want. So I'm going to reduce the threshold value until I get my desired effect. So that's looking really good. Added a little extra at the top here. I can clean this up further. And this really becomes a guessing game of kind of just trying some different values, seeing what works well. You can adjust paths, corners, and noise as well. So I'm going to try that. Reduce the amount of paths because it's looking a little jagged in some areas. This should be fine for what I need. So once I'm satisfied with the outcome of the image trace, I'm going to click Expand up here at the top. I can close that image trace window. And what happened is we've converted a raster graphic into vector imagery. So it's got anchor points and paths. And we can use those paths to actually make a cut when we go to send this over to our vinyl cutter. So when I did that image trace and expand, it automatically grouped everything together. So I want to ungroup it and select the profile here, right click and say ungroup. I'm going to do that again, select it, right click and say release compound path. And this time you'll see all of the extra detail that was floating in the middle is now disappeared, sort of. If I grab my overall shape, you can see those details are still behind there and I don't need them anymore. I can just select them all and say delete. This is what I needed. And you can see that that is a silhouette of the person in the photograph. Next step is just for seeing this a little easier. I'm going to flip-flop my fill and stroke color. So I'm going to hit the little arrow here to flip-flop those. And I'll set that stroke to red just so I can see it better. And the next step, I'm just noticing something right in around here, just an extra shape. I can delete that. Okay. So next step is to take that path and offset it. To do so, you go to Object, Path, Offset Path. And the settings for this are going to be 0.1 of an inch with joins set to round and the miter limit set to 4. If you click Preview, you'll see what that does, and it's just going to push out that profile a little bit more. And with the nice rounded edges there, that new path will be what we actually cut out for our fathead sticker. So I'll say OK to that. I can take that inner profile. I don't need that anymore, so I can delete that. And then this one, what I want to do is move it over. So using my arrow keys, I'm going to move this over onto the artboard and going to try to get that finessed into position. So just using my arrow keys, that looks just about right. It's okay if it cuts off at the legs here because we're printing this on white vinyl. So anything that's not shown in the image as white will simply be filled in with white. So we'll have a nice little cutoff there and the cut across the bottom. So the very last step is we can't just send this over just yet. This cut path, this red line, we actually have to specify it as a cut profile using a new swatch. So from the color drop-down menu here under stroke, I'm going to click on new swatch. And I have to title that Cut Contour, 2 capital C's, no spaces. very important. That must be a spot color. This should be set to color mode CMYK. Cyan should be 0, magenta 100, yellow 0, black 0. So we want 100% magenta. Say OK. You then need to make sure that that profile is set to your new swatch, which is that cut contour swatch. So make sure you have it selected and that it's not red still. And the very last thing is we just need to set the stroke weight here to 0.001. I hit enter on my keyboard to solidify that. If you click off of it, it almost disappears, but it is still there. And that's so that when we do make that cut operation, it doesn't cut multiple paths for us. We just want it to cut one time and allow us to remove the image. So that is it from start to finish, how to create your own custom miniature Fathead vinyl sticker. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. See you next time.